So tonight the claim that I'm responding to is the proposition that hybrid vehicles are harmful effects on the environment. And my opponent's secondary claims were as follows. Hybrid cars contribute to the greenhouse effect, and the hybrid battery damages the environment. And my response to those claims are as follows. First, my first secondary claim to his response was, the purpose of the hybrid car is to reduce the CO2 emissions in the air. And the second one is, although there is harm from a battery, proper methods exist on the disposal of the battery, and methods to improve it are in the works. So therefore, the way I'm going to approach this is explain how CO2 emissions are being reduced. So in his first secondary claim, he goes and says that the hybrid cars contribute to the greenhouse effects. Well, in his evidence from the Berkeley website, it states that the hybrid vehicle does contribute to greenhouse emissions, just at a reduced rate, because the fuel that powers hybrid comes from a petroleum-based fuel. Well, my analysis on this is, I see that the Berkeley article actually says at a reduced rate. So therefore, it goes into my own form of evidence that comes from the Fuel Economy website, which is a government-based website that says every gallon of gasoline your vehicle burns puts about 20 pounds of CO2 into the atmosphere. The average vehicle emits around 6 to 9 tons of CO2 each year. Unlike other forms of vehicle pollution, CO2 emissions cannot be reduced by top pollution control technologies. They can only be reduced by burning less fuel or by burning fuel that contains less carbon. One of the most important things you can do is to reduce your contribution to climate change is to buy a vehicle with better fuel economy. The difference between 25 miles per gallon and 20 miles per gallon can prevent the emissions of 10 tons of CO2 over a vehicle's lifetime, and it's more than a year's worth of use. So therefore, within the fuel economy guide, we are able to see that the better fuel economy on the vehicle actually improves the amount of CO2 emissions that get thrown out into the air. This goes into another evidence fact that he had put out there, that the EPA states a gallon of gasoline assumed to produce 8.8 kilograms of CO2, which I formally stated in my own evidence. So therefore, I'm not denying the fact that CO2 emissions are not being let out by the hybrid vehicle, but the purpose of the hybrid vehicle is to reduce those CO2 emissions. Now, another percentage that I wanted to put out there was that they said that the hybrid vehicle accounts for 27% of the U.S. CO2 emissions each year. So obviously it's not one of the greater CO2 emitters in the environment. Well, this leads into his other evidence, which he had said is that the hybrid vehicle has like about the same amounts of NPG to any regular vehicle. And he only states two vehicles, which was the Smart Car of 2010, which has an AP estimated of 33 city and 41 highway, and the Toyota Prius of 51 city and 48 highway. He neglects to point out any other form of vehicle that is not a hybrid vehicle to defend his claim. So therefore, my backing for this is I made two comparisons, a comparison of 1999-2000 vehicles to 2011 vehicles. Therefore, 2000, the reason for is the launch of the hybrid vehicle, while in 2011, we're actually at this pivotal point. Well, a regular standard pickup truck, which we know are fuel hoggers, showed that a Silverado 15 hybrid, two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, consists of a 23 highway and 20 city, while the Ford F-150 from 2000 was a 12 to 16 mile per gallon to city highway. Obviously, we're seeing that there's not much, that there's actually a reduction in fuel. Well, fuel economy is improving throughout the years. The next one I wanted to show was a compact vehicle, or compact car, which is the Lexus CT200, which is 40 miles per gallon on highway and 43 per city, and the Toyota Camry of 2000, which is 22 to 30. We all know that Toyota Camrys were some of the leading vehicles in the back then with the fuel economies, but they even were under the hybrid thing. Another thing that I want to point out is in the fuel economy guide, the leading vehicles that were better on fuel economy were all hybrid vehicles. Therefore, it's actually demonstrating that the hybrid vehicle is a greater approach to reduce these CO2 emissions. Now, my response to the secondary claim is he had said that the battery is a toxic or it's harmful to the environment. And in one of his evidence, he goes and says, from the same Same article, Berkeley article, he only stayed consistent with 2. And the second thing was he got was the greatest environmental impact comes from the pollution caused by the elaborate battery system that power the electric engine. Well, I'm not going to deny the fact that batteries are not toxic to the environment, but there are methods to improve it, and there's proper ways of disposing it. So I go off of this quote that says the caustic substance that power the batteries are very poisonous, and when released into the environment, each leach into the waterways and poison the groundwaters. Obviously, I'm not neglecting the fact that batteries are not poisonous, but what I want to say is this, that a regular battery from a vehicle is lead acid based, which is at a higher toxic level than the nickel based battery that is used and employed in a hybrid vehicle. So therefore, it's not one of the leading impacted toxics. Now, the second thing that I wanted to point out was that there are methods to improve it. There are methods to improve it, and I forgot to neglect was Toyota and Honda, which was stated in the hybrid battery toxicity article that said that Toyota and Honda place decals with a toll-free number on their hybrid battery packs, and Toyota offers a $200 bounty to ensure that every battery comes back to them. That was one of them. And Toyota states that every part of the battery, from the precious metal to the plastic plates, steel case, and wiring, is recycled. Therefore, we are seeing that Toyota and Honda is offering an incentive to clean up the environment and make a better, effective, cleaner environment. Sorry. Well, now what I want to say is how the battery is being improved. Well, they are looking into new forms of technology with this lithium ion, and lithium ion was stated in one of the quotes by Krebs from the National Recycling Coalition, said that lithium ion batteries are classified by the federal government as non-hazardous waste and are safe for disposal than normal municipal waste. So therefore, with the change in the battery system, like improvement in the battery going from nickel to lithium ion, we are actually seeing that the companies are trying to improve this. They're trying to improve the battery so it will have less effect on the environment. Therefore, the purpose of the hybrid vehicle is to reduce the CO2 emissions in the air and to have a better and cleaner, safer environment. Thank you.
Right.
I forgot to give you that. I can't remember.
Have you got the evaluation form?
No.
The rubric?
I can go to my dorm and get it.
Well, hang on. Let's see if somebody else has one, or I can dig something up. I don't know. I should. I do that in my public speaking classes, but. All right. Structural stuff is all fine. I think you have a good counterclaim on the point. Basically, the whole first point, you explained the idea of reduced consumption pretty effectively, and you use the same measurement of output of CO2 that the advocate's talking about. What you need to do is find some way of quantifying the total impact of the reduced CO2 because of the use of the hybrid vehicles. There's probably a couple of ways of doing that. I did like the comparisons that you made with the model years. I thought that was interesting. And then, give us tell us what the difference would be, for instance, in the CO2 output between those 2000 and 2011 vehicles. And you're on the right track there. I think you basically explained the problem with the advocate's reasoning on that point. What's interesting, though, is I think on the next point you kind of commit the same kind of reasoning problem when you talk about the batteries, comparing the batteries in conventional automobiles with the batteries in the hybrid vehicles as if they are the same size, have the same kind of environmental impact, and I think that is a bit of a stretch. You need to be able to talk about it in a much more practical way. I thought the second argument about recycling was the more practical way of dealing with it, and the factual data that says that there's a way that the companies are trying to ensure that the batteries in fact do get recycled. I think that was pretty strong as well. And remember the very first piece of information that the advocate cited and that you acknowledge is that if this material gets released into the environment, then there's a problem. what hasn't been shown is that it is being released into the environment. The advocate didn't provide any information on that, and you're suggesting there are ways of preventing that happening. That's the way you should be phrasing those secondary claims. But your explanation on it is okay. The whole thing about the lithium-ion batteries, I think you needed better evidence